All right, shalom, shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, YAHAWASHI, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. I want to say and give double honors to the apostles and the bishop elders, a great millstone, for teaching this word and truth and sincerity, for ruling well. And salutations to the elect, Lord willing, with some of those men and women who also believe and fear in the name of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, YAHAWASHI, patiently waiting for salvation. Hey, I'm my brother Gabar Yahweh, from GMS Hawaii, coming to you with another quick lesson. This is really quick. This is just a visual, right? So I'm in the middle of watching this video of Apostle Gabar's the study showed ourselves approved an example of outright confusion. So obviously brothers know Brother Hassad and one of the individuals from Baal, Believers of the Way, were trying to go into the hour, the time, particular time and day of Yahawashi's death, Salakia, trial, crucifixion, and death, right? And so what Apostle Bar says in this video is completely on point. It's 100% on point. It's everything that he says is biblically factual, and he's backing it up with scriptures, and he's giving us a better understanding of how to understand the day and the night. And so I just looked up on ChatGTP the exact same thing that the apostle said, literally the exact same thing Apostle Gabar said. So I just want to show for brothers that might have a hard time following and understanding, just give you a visual representation using ChatGTP. And I got one precept, and the precept I have is 1 Thessalonians 5:21. Prove all things, hold fast that which is good, right? The NLT says, but test everything that is said and hold it to what is good. And that's exactly what you're supposed to do. The guy from Baal, he didn't do that. That's why he was fumbling, mumbling, and stumbling over his words and information. And he's just doing too much talking. So, hey, like the Apostle Gabar said, be more concise and use less words. So here you go. So this is from ChatGPT. I typed it in the Bible. The day starts at night during Yahawashi's last Passover when he was arrested. Was it technically the beginning of the 15th day, since it was the 14th day at even? And it says, yes, you're correct. In the Bible, and I got this information from Apostle Gabar, which he got it from the scriptures, and then we follow the law. It says, yes, you're correct. In the Bible, a day begins at even, not at night, not at midnight or sunrise, like in modern Western culture. This is based on the pattern established in Genesis 1, where it repeatedly says, in the evening and the morning were the first day. It says now Yahawashi's last Passover, according to the Torah, Leviticus 23:5, Exodus 12:6, in the 14th day of the first month at evening is the Lord's Passover. At evening refers to the beginning of the 14th day, not the end. It says, but the Passover meal itself was eaten at the end of the 14th day, going into the 15th day, which was the start of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And it gives a timeline. Yahawashi's last Passover timeline. The 14th day of Abib, Nisan, begins at evening sunset. This is when Yahawashi and the disciples eat the Passover meal. Matthew 26:17-20, Luke 22:7-14. It says, later that night, he goes to Gethsemane and is arrested. Still the same biblical 14th day. Still the same biblical day of the 14th, but early morning. He was brought before the Sanhedrin, Pilate, etc. By midday, he was crucified and dies later that afternoon. Still the 14th day. Still the 14th. As evening approached again to start the 15th day, his body is taken down and buried before the high Sabbath begins. It says, so Yahawashi arrested. So was Yahawashi arrested on the 15th day? No. He was arrested late at night on a 14th day, just a few hours after eating the Passover meal. It wasn't yet the 15th day because the 14th had just started at sunset. However, by the time of his burial, it was approaching the 15th day, which is the first day of unleavened bread, the high Sabbath, John 19:31. Because the guy from Baal was saying it happened on the 16th. It didn't happen on the 16th, right? None of that happened on the 16th. It was the 15th day. This is, so in summary, yes, days start at evening in the Bible. Yahawashi was arrested the night of the 14th, shortly after Passover meal. It was not yet the 15th day that came the next evening after his death and burial, right? So then I got a visual for brothers who have a hard time following these words. Let's walk through this visual timeline, right? Here's a visual timeline of the last Passover crucifixion of Yahawashi, using a biblical calendar where days begin at the sunset. Nisan the 13th is the preparation day. Preparation day was the daytime. So the disciples prepared the Passover during the day of the 13th, right? As soon as the night hit, that was the beginning of the 14th day, meaning as soon as the sun went down. Still the daytime of the 13th, just before the 14th, begins at sunset. Nisan, the 14th day, begins at sunset, start of the Passover day, right? Evening. Yahawashi eats the Passover meal with the disciples, Luke 22:14-20, right? Night. He prays in Gethsemane and is betrayed by Judas and arrested. The early morning is still the 14th day, right? It's like the ending of the 14th day because it's early morning. He's taken to the high priest, then to Pilate. Matthew 26:57, 27, and 2. Morning to afternoon. He's mock trial, beaten, sentenced to death. Noon to 3 o'clock, he's crucified. Remember, it says that in Mark 15-25, John 19-14 and 16. 3 p.m., Yahawashi dies, right? 3 p.m. Nisan, the 15th day, begins at sunset, the start of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. It says late afternoon, still the 14th, because it's late in the afternoon. That was around 3 o'clock. He died. His body is taken down before the Sabbath starts, which is the evening, the 15th. He is buried before the sunset finishes. So there it is. So this is a biblical description, as well as a visual biblical timeline of Yahawashi's death, of Yahawashi's arrest, crucifixion, and death. Right? Summary. The 13th day was preparation. The 14th, night and day, Passover meal, arrest, and crucifixion. The 15th, starting at sunset, the Feast of Unleavened Bread begins. He's buried. He's buried before the sun goes fully down. So yeah, I hope you got an understanding. I made this really quick and concise. With that, give all praise, honor, and glory to YAHAWASHI. Double honors to the apostles. Shalom to the elect. Shalom.